Hello, Barondibitus here with another video for the board game shelf. This time I'm showing the versions of Fluxx that I have. Just two versions, Firefly Fluxx and Star Fluxx. If you don't know what Fluxx is, it is a card game that essentially, the idea is that the rules change all the time. You start with, here, let me find this, here we go. So every version of Fluxx, as far as I know, should have one of these cards here, all right? The basic rules. To begin, shuffle the deck and deal 3 cards to each player. Choose someone to go first, keep this card on the table. And then all you do on your turn is you draw 1 card and you play 1 card. And that's it. So how do you win? Well, that's at the start of the game, there isn't a way to win yet. There are these goal cards. There are always these kind of like pink goal cards. And essentially, if you play a goal card, that means that the way to win the game is to have, in this case, so if you're, in this case, if you have Wash and Toy Dinosaurs in front of you, if you have those 2 cards, then you win. Or with this one, if you have Guns and Jane, you win as well. You win. And there can generally only be 1 goal card at a time. So the goal changes all the time. And let's see, what other cards? So these cards, so there are all these keeper cards, right? So yeah, Wash, Fresh Fruit, Medical Supplies, Shuttle, and so on and so forth. You can have a bunch of these in front of you, and certain combinations lead to certain winning outcomes. So there's also creeper cards, which are like keepers, but they're bad. And then, let's see here. Like I said, there's also a bunch of action cards and stuff. But the real exciting stuff are the rules cards. So if you were to, so for example, this one says hand limit is now 2. So in addition to these rules, you can only have up to 2 cards in your hand at a time. Now there are some that actually modify the draw and play rules. For example, this one says play all of your cards but 1, and you basically just replace that one. Essentially, there are others. Yeah, goal mill. There are other ones that are like that change the hand limit. There are some that say draw 2, or in this case, draw 5. And yeah, these rules just keep changing throughout the game, and the game ends when somebody wins. And again, you know, you win if someone, if a goal is on the table and someone actually has those cards in front of them. So that's basically how Fluxx works. And because Fluxx is so simple, you can have all, there are lots of different versions of Fluxx. There's simpler concepts, simpler ideas, such as, you know, like chemistry Fluxx, or in this case we have, or like chemistry Fluxx, or I think there's a math Fluxx or something like that. There's a lot of like IP Fluxx games. DC, Marvel, I'm pretty sure. Obviously, Firefly, the TV show. We have Firefly because my wife is a big fan of Firefly. I've only seen a couple episodes of Firefly, if I'm being honest, but I understand why people like it a lot. So there's that, and then we have Star Fluxx, which is basically all of the, it just has a bunch of references to sci-fi films and stories and things like that. You know, there's references to Doctor Who, Star Wars, Star Trek, and things like that, and just general, like, you know, just general sci-fi stuff, right? Yeah, laser weapons. There's trap cards, but yeah, so yeah, Star Fluxx is just kind of like, you know, non copyright infringement sci-fi tropes, essentially. But yeah, that is Fluxx. Sometimes it's a very quick game, honestly. It's you know, I just described all the rules in just a minute or two, and yeah, it's very easy to pick up. Sometimes, I will say, sometimes I've been a bit frustrated when like a game keeps going on and on because the goal keeps changing, and you know, sometimes, you know, people can like steal each other's cards and whatever and things like that. Although maybe that only happened, although games only like outlasted their welcome maybe like a couple times. And I have played these games like several times, like lots of times already. So more often than not, they tend to be shorter. I guess usually games are longer if people are like deliberately trying to make them longer, essentially. But yeah, it's a fun idea, and it's very simple and very flexible, honestly. And yeah, I like it. I have considered getting more versions of Fluxx, but honestly, we already play Fluxx plenty enough with these two versions anyway. So there's not really any need to. I don't feel any need to like collect them all. Essentially, there are lots of board games and card games where you can get that sense of like you could collect them all, and I try to keep that to a minimum. There are some games where we have been trying to collect them all, but Fluxx is not one of them. So I like to think that my wife and I are a little bit sensible with our game spending money. But anyway, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and until next time, all the best.